In the vast darkness of space, thousands of stars glittered like distant jewels. Among them traveled 50 massive warships, their sleek metal hulls reflecting the light of the nearest sun. These vessels belonged to the Galactic Imperial Federation, rulers of over 10,000 worlds across the Milky Way. Admiral Kim stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Celestial Hammer. He was tall with sharp features and eyes that had witnessed the conquest of dozens of civilizations. His crisp uniform bore the golden insignia of the Imperial fleet, a reminder of his authority and the power he commanded. "Status report," Kim ordered, his voice calm but firm. Officer Jun looked up from his control panel. "We are approaching the outer reaches of the target solar system, Admiral. Scans show 8 planets orbiting a yellow star. The third planet appears to be the only one with significant life signs." Kim nodded. "This mission should be routine. Another primitive world to bring under Imperial control." The Federation had perfected the art of conquest over thousands of years. Some civilizations joined willingly, awed by Imperial technology and the promise of advancement. Others required a show of force, a demonstration of the futility of resistance. Either way, the outcome was always the same. "What do we know about this species?" Kim asked. "Very little, Admiral," replied Intelligence Officer Min. She pulled up a holographic display showing a blue-green planet. "They call their world Earth. They've achieved basic spaceflight, but haven't expanded beyond their moon and a few orbital stations around their planet and neighboring worlds. Their technology is at least 5 centuries behind Imperial standards." Kim smiled slightly. "Then this should be straightforward. Prepare the standard first contact protocols." The fleet continued its approach, entering the solar system's outer boundary. They passed a large gas giant with spectacular rings, then a smaller red planet. As they drew closer to Earth, something unexpected happened. "Admiral, I'm detecting unusual energy readings," reported Sensor Officer Bian. His fingers moved rapidly across his console. "There appears to be a network of satellites or small stations throughout this system. The energy signature is unfamiliar." Kim frowned. This was unusual but not concerning. Primitive species often had surprising technological quirks, specialized developments in narrow fields while remaining backward in others. "Continue approach. Maintain alert status but keep weapons powered down. We don't want to appear hostile unless necessary." The fleet pushed forward, now closing in on Earth's orbit. The blue planet grew larger on the main view screen, oceans and continents becoming visible. "Admiral," called Communications Officer Yun suddenly. "We're receiving a transmission. It's being broadcast on all frequencies and in perfect Imperial Standard language." Kim raised an eyebrow. "That's impossible. They shouldn't have knowledge of our language." "Put it through." The bridge speakers crackled to life. "This is Earth Defense Command. You have entered restricted space. Turn back immediately. Earth and Sol system are forbidden to all non-human entities. This is your only warning." A moment of stunned silence fell over the bridge. Then several officers began to laugh nervously. Kim himself allowed a small smile to form on his lips. "They've detected us and somehow learned our language," he said. "Impressive, but ultimately meaningless." Strategic Officer Jin cleared his throat. "Admiral, should we consider their warning? The energy readings we're detecting are unusual." Kim turned to face him directly. "The Federation has conquered worlds with technology far beyond what this Earth possesses. Their warning means nothing without the power to enforce it." He straightened his uniform. "Prepare a response message. Inform them that they will be peacefully assimilated into the Galactic Imperial Federation, with all the benefits and protections that entails." "Yes, Admiral," Yun replied, preparing the message. Kim walked to the large viewport at the front of the bridge. Earth hung in space before him, blue oceans and swirling white clouds making it look peaceful and vulnerable. "Send probes ahead," Kim ordered. "I want detailed scans of their defense capabilities before we move the main fleet into orbit." 6 small probe ships detached from the fleet, speeding toward Earth. They were unmanned, designed to gather intelligence quickly and efficiently. "Probes will reach scanning range in 10 minutes, Admiral," reported Officer June. Kim nodded and turned to his second-in-command. "Commander Park, what do you make of their warning?" Park considered the question carefully. "It suggests they somehow knew we were coming. That's concerning. It also implies they believe they have the means to enforce their warning, which seems unlikely given their technological level." "My thoughts exactly," Kim agreed. "Perhaps they've had contact with other spacefaring races. That would explain their knowledge of our language." The bridge crew worked efficiently around them, monitoring the approaching probes and analyzing the continued unusual energy readings. "Admiral," called Sensor Officer Bland suddenly, "the energy readings are intensifying around the probes. Something is." His words were cut short as alarms blared across the bridge. The displays showing the probe telemetry flickered and went dark. "We've lost contact with all probes simultaneously," reported June, his fingers flying across his control panel. Last readings showed some kind of energy field activating around them. Kim's expression hardened. "Analysis. Unknown, Admiral. The energy signature doesn't match any weapon system in our database." For the first time, a flicker of concern crossed Kim's face, quickly replaced by determination. "This changes nothing. Primitive tricks cannot stand against Imperial technology. The Federation has faced and overcome countless defense systems across the galaxy." He returned to his command chair and sat down deliberately. "Move the fleet forward. Take us into weapons range." The massive warships resumed their approach toward Earth. The bridge crew was silent now, focused on their duties but with a new tension in the air. "Admiral," Communications Officer Yun spoke up. "They're broadcasting again." "Ignore it," Kim replied. "Prepare our assault craft. We'll demonstrate our power and accept their surrender afterward." The ships moved closer to Earth. From this distance, they could see the lights of cities on the night side of the planet. Small artificial satellites and space stations orbited the world, seemingly primitive compared to Imperial technology. "We're entering optimal strike range," announced Weapons Officer Jai. "Awaiting your command, Admiral." Kim leaned forward. "Target their largest military installations and power generation facilities. Precision strikes only. We want to minimize civilian casualties." "Targeting systems locked, Admiral." Kim took a deep breath. In his long career, he had overseen dozens of first contact scenarios, some peaceful, many not. But all had ended with new worlds joining the Federation. This would be no different. "Fire when ready," he ordered. Officer G pressed the command sequence. "Weapons firing in 3, 2, 1. Nothing happened. "Weapons are not responding, Admiral," Jai reported, confusion in his voice. "Systems show they're active, but the firing mechanism isn't engaging." Before Kim could respond, more alarms sounded throughout the bridge. "Admiral, something is happening to our ships," called Officer Bian. "Energy levels dropping across the fleet. We're losing power to critical systems." Kim stood up sharply. "Countermeasures. Activate all shields and defensive protocols." "Shields not responding," replied Commander Park. "Whatever this is, it's bypassing our defense systems completely." On the view screen, Kim watched as the lights on several of his ships began to flicker and go dark. The vessels drifted, powerless. "Emergency protocols," Kim ordered. "Reroute all power to life support and communications." As the bridge lights dimmed around him, Kim stared at the blue planet. His expression was no longer confident but filled with confusion and growing concern. "Impossible," he whispered. "How could they?" The final transmission from Earth Defense Command echoed in his mind. "This is your only warning." For the first time in his long career, Admiral Kim realized he had made a grave miscalculation. The laughter that had filled the bridge earlier was now replaced by silent dread, as the mighty Imperial fleet drifted powerless in space, at the mercy of a world they had come to conquer. Admiral Kim stood in the dimly lit bridge of his flagship. Emergency power provided just enough light to see the worried faces of his crew. 24 hours had passed since the mysterious attack had disabled half of his fleet. The mighty Imperial warships now drifted helplessly in space, dark silhouettes against the blue glow of Earth. "Status report," Kim demanded, his voice tense. Officer Jun looked up from his portable scanner. The main systems remained offline, forcing the crew to use backup equipment. 25 ships completely disabled, Admiral. No response to any communications. The other 24, including our flagship, are operating on minimal emergency power only. Kim's jaw tightened. In his 300 years serving the Galactic Imperial Federation, he had never faced such a humiliating defeat, especially not from a supposedly primitive world. "What happened to our ships?" he asked. Engineer Juan stepped forward, holding a small device. "We've analyzed what little data we could gather. There were no explosions, no energy beams, nothing we could detect with our sensors. It's as if the laws of physics simply changed around our vessels." "That's impossible," said Commander Park. "Nevertheless," Juan continued, "our quantum field generators simply stopped working. Without them, our ships cannot maintain power. The propulsion systems, weapons, shields, all useless." Kim stared at the view screen, which showed only static. Earth was out there, a planet that should have been easy to conquer, now revealing itself as something far more dangerous. "Can we restore power?" he asked. "Not without outside assistance," Juan replied. "Whatever they used affected the fundamental principles our technology operates on." A soft beep came from the communication station. Officer Yun pressed her earpiece closer. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Imperial High Command. They must have received our distress signal." Kim nodded. At least the emergency quantum beacon had worked. "Put it through to my private chamber." He walked to a small room adjacent to the bridge. The holographic projector flickered to life, showing the stern face of Grand Commander Sung. "Admiral Kim," Sung began, his voice cold. "Explain your situation." Kim straightened his posture despite his fatigue. "The Earth defense systems were unexpected, sir. They deployed some kind of field that disabled our ships without firing a single conventional weapon. Half our fleet is completely dead in space. The rest, including my flagship, are operating on emergency power only." Sung's expression darkened. "This is unacceptable. A primitive world should not possess such technology." "I agree, sir, but the evidence is clear. They have developed along a different technological path than the Empire. Our intelligence was severely lacking." Sung was silent for a moment. "Your orders are to retreat immediately. Abandon the disabled vessels if necessary. Return to Imperial space and report directly to the High Council." "Sir, if we could send a larger fleet." "That decision will be made by the Council after your report." Sung interrupted. "Retreat immediately, Admiral. That is an order." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Kim alone in the darkened room. He took a deep breath, composing himself before returning to the bridge. "Prepare all functional ships for departure," he announced to his waiting officers. "We're retreating to Imperial space." Commander Park looked shocked. "What about our disabled vessels? There are thousands of crew members trapped aboard." Kim's expression remained neutral, though the decision pained him. "We have no choice. Without full power, we cannot tow them. Send evacuation shuttles to rescue as many as possible, but we depart in 6 hours, with or without them." As the bridge crew rushed to carry out his orders, Kim turned back to the view screen, now showing only the stars and the faint outlines of his crippled fleet. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains on Earth, Director Park stood before a massive holographic display showing the Imperial fleet. Red icons represented disabled ships, while yellow showed those still functioning on minimal power. The United Global Defense Council chamber was filled with military leaders and scientists from around the world. "As you can see," Park said, gesturing to the display, "our first deployment of the quantum displacement field was largely successful. 25 enemy vessels are completely disabled, with 24 others severely compromised. General Kang, head of the Asian Defense Alliance, nodded appreciatively. Better results than our simulations predicted. But they still have functional ships. Their functionality is minimal, explained Dr. Lee, stepping forward. The young physicist had been central to developing Earth's revolutionary defense system. They're operating on emergency power only. Their weapons, shields, and faster-than-light capabilities are all offline. Can they repair their ships? Asked an American admiral. Lee shook his head. Not without outside help. The quantum displacement field didn't just disable their technology. It permanently altered the subatomic structure of their power generation systems. Director Park zoomed in on the flagship. Our intelligence suggests they're preparing to retreat. They're evacuating crew from the most damaged vessels. Should we finish them off? General Kang asked. We have conventional weapons that could destroy them while they're vulnerable. The room fell silent. Park considered the question carefully. No. Our goal was defense, not massacre. They came with weapons powered down, following their standard first contact protocol. We responded with a measured defense that protected Earth without casualties. She looked around the room. Besides, we want survivors to return to their empire. They need to report what happened here. Dr. Lee nodded in agreement. The quantum displacement field was designed to be non-lethal. Their life support systems remained functional on emergency power. No one had to die today. Park turned back to the display. But make no mistake, this was only the first test. They'll be back, and next time, they'll come with everything they have. The room filled with murmurs as military leaders and scientists discussed the implications. Dr. Lee, Park said, your quantum displacement field worked better than expected. Can we scale it up for a larger attack? Lee moved to a different control panel and brought up technical schematics. Yes, but we'll need more power. The field generators require enormous energy to create a large enough displacement zone. For today's attack, we used nearly 30% of Earth's total power generation capacity. We'll get you what you need, Park promised. How long do we have before they return? Based on our analysis of their faster-than-light capabilities and the location of their nearest major base, answered Intelligence Officer CO, we estimate 3 to 4 months. Park nodded grimly. Then we have work to do. I want defense preparations accelerated. Dr. Lee, your team has full priority for resources. As the meeting continued, Park walked to a private viewing window that looked out across the underground complex. Thousands of people worked below, scientists and military personnel united in Earth's defense. For decades, humanity had known this day might come, the day they would face a galactic power that saw them as nothing more than another world to conquer. What the Empire didn't understand was that humanity's isolation had forced them to develop technologies in unique ways. While the Empire had expanded across the stars using conventional physics, Earth scientists had delved deep into quantum mechanics, discovering principles the Empire had never explored. They'll be back, Park whispered to herself. And next time, with everything they have. Admiral Kim watched from the bridge as the last evacuation shuttle docked with his flagship. The rescue operation had saved over 10,000 crew members from the disabled ships, but thousands more remained behind, trapped in vessels that would soon become their tombs. All shuttles accounted for, Admiral, reported Officer Jun. The engines on the functioning ships have been restored to minimal capacity. We can achieve faster-than-light travel, but at reduced speed. Kim nodded. Set course for Imperial space. Maximum possible speed. As the 24 surviving ships slowly turned away from Earth, Kim felt a mixture of shame and determination. The Empire had existed for 12,000 years, conquering any civilization that stood in its path. This defeat was unprecedented, but would not go unanswered. Commander Park, he said quietly, begin preparing our report for the High Council. Include every detail of what happened here. They need to understand what we're facing. Park nodded solemnly. Do you think they'll send another fleet? Not just another fleet, Kim replied, watching as Earth grew smaller on the view screen. They'll send everything. The Empire cannot allow this challenge to stand. For the first time in millennia, we found a species with technology that can truly threaten us. As the ships accelerated to faster than light speed, leaving the Sol system behind, Kim made a silent promise to himself. He would return to Earth, not just with a larger fleet, but with a better understanding of the enemy they now faced. The Empire had grown complacent in its power, and today they had paid the price. But the next encounter would be different. Of that, Admiral Kim was certain. The Grand Hall of the Imperial High Council fell silent as Supreme Commander Choi entered. She walked with perfect posture, her uniform adorned with medals from countless successful conquests. Her face showed no emotion, though inside she felt a burning determination. The embarrassing defeat of Admiral Kim's fleet could not go unanswered. Supreme Commander, Emperor Jin spoke from his elevated throne. You understand the importance of this mission. Choi bowed deeply. Yes, Your Majesty. This primitive world has defied the Empire. Such defiance cannot stand. Indeed. The Emperor gestured to the holographic display in the center of the hall. It showed Earth, spinning slowly, looking deceptively peaceful. We have spent the last 3 months analyzing the data from Admiral Kim's failed expedition. What are your conclusions? Choi stepped forward. The humans have developed unusual technology based on principles our scientists don't fully understand. However, their advancement appears limited to a single area, this quantum displacement field that disabled our ships. She manipulated the display, showing the massive fleet assembled in orbit around the Imperial capital world. My strategy is simple but effective. I will take 500 warships, 10 times the force Admiral Kim commanded. We will overwhelm their defenses through sheer numbers and firepower. And if their weapons affect your ships as they did Admiral Kim's? Asked the counselor. We've developed countermeasures, Choi replied confidently. Our scientists have created shielding they believe will protect against their quantum field technology. Additionally, our ships will approach in waves. Even if they disable the first wave, the remaining forces will be sufficient to conquer the planet. The Emperor nodded slowly. Very well, Supreme Commander. You may proceed. Bring this Earth into the Empire, or destroy it completely. 3 days later, Supreme Commander Choi stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Imperial Judgment, as her massive armada prepared to depart. 500 warships, the largest fleet assembled in over a century, filled the view screen. Each vessel carried thousands of troops and enough firepower to level a continent. The fleet is ready, Supreme Commander, reported her second-in-command, Captain Ba. Choi nodded. Begin jump sequence. Next stop, Earth. The great fleet vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving only stars where moments before had been the mightiest armada in the galaxy. On Earth, Dr. Lee worked tirelessly in the captured Imperial warship. For 3 months, he and his team had studied every inch of the alien vessel, learning its secrets. The ship's massive engine room had been transformed into a laboratory where human scientists worked alongside the most advanced computers on the planet. Dr. Lee called one of his assistants. The quantum scanner has completed its analysis of their shield generator. Lee hurried over, his eyes widening as he reviewed the data. Fascinating. Their entire civilization is built around manipulating standard electromagnetic fields. Their shields, weapons, propulsion, all operate on the same basic principles. Director Park entered the engine room, flanked by military officers. Dr. Lee, our deep space sensors have detected a massive Imperial fleet heading toward Earth. They'll arrive within 48 hours. Lee wasn't surprised. They had been preparing for this moment since Admiral Kim's fleet retreated. How many ships? 500, Park replied. 10 times their previous force. The scientists and engineers in the room fell silent. Even with their advanced defenses, such a massive fleet would be challenging to repel. Are the new weapons ready? Park asked. Lee nodded and led them to another section of the laboratory. Here, strange devices hummed with energy, a hybrid of human quantum technology and imperial components. Their civilization has never encountered quantum entanglement weapons, Lee explained, gesturing to the devices. They've evolved along a completely different technological path. While they mastered faster-than-light travel and energy weapons, they'd never developed quantum mechanics as we have. He activated a holographic display showing the hybrid weapon system. We've integrated their power systems with our quantum technology. The result is something entirely new. A weapon that can target their ships regardless of their shields because it affects the fundamental structure of their technology. Will it work against 500 ships? Asked a general. Lee hesitated. Our original quantum displacement field required enormous energy to disable just 50 ships. We couldn't scale it up enough for 500. But these hybrid weapons are different. They're more efficient and more powerful. How soon can they be deployed? Park asked. The orbital platforms are already in position, Lee replied. Earth's defense grid is as ready as it will ever be. Park nodded grimly. Then we wait. 47 hours later, Supreme Commander Choi's fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. The armada spread out in perfect formation. 500 of the most powerful warships in the known galaxy. Scan the system, Choi ordered. Officer Jin studied his console, detecting the same unusual energy signatures that Admiral Kim reported. They appear to be defense platforms positioned throughout the system. Choi smiled coldly. As expected, deploy countermeasures and activate the special shielding. Advance in wave formation as planned. The massive fleet began moving toward Earth. The first wave consisted of 100 ships, their special shields glowing with a distinctive blue light, the result of 3 months of Imperial research into quantum resistance. On the bridge of the Imperial Judgment, Choi watched with confidence. Even if their weapons work against our first wave, we have 4 more behind it. Earth will be Imperial territory before the day is over. As the first wave approached the orbital defense platforms, Officer Jin reported, energy buildup detected in the human defense network. They're preparing to activate their displacement field. Let them try, Choi said. Our shields are ready. Around Earth, hundreds of platforms simultaneously activated. But instead of the broad field that had disabled Admiral Kim's fleet, narrow beams of energy shot forth, connecting pairs of platforms before targeting specific Imperial ships. What is this? Choi demanded as the unusual attack pattern appeared on her display. Before Officer Jin could answer, the reports started flooding in. Supreme Commander, first wave ships are reporting critical failures. Shield generators are shutting down despite the countermeasures. We're losing contact with multiple vessels. Choi stared in disbelief as ship after ship in her first wave went dark. Their special shields, designed specifically to counter the quantum displacement field, had proven completely ineffective against this new weapon. Analysis, she demanded. Officer Jin worked frantically at his console. It's not the same weapon they used against Admiral Kim. This is something new. The energy signature suggests it's a hybrid technology. They've somehow combined their quantum science with elements of our own technology. Choi's mind raced. How could they have developed this so quickly? Then she remembered the abandoned ships. The humans had captured 25 Imperial warships intact. They'd had 3 months to study Imperial technology. Launch the second wave, she ordered. Change approach vector and adjust shield frequencies. The second 100 ships surged forward, adjusting their defenses based on data from the first wave. But the human weapons adapted instantly, changing their attack pattern and frequency. Within minutes, the second wave suffered the same fate as the first. On Earth, Dr. Lee monitored the battle from the United Global Defense Command Center. The quantum entanglement targeting is working perfectly, he reported to Director Park. Their shields can't block our weapons because we're not attacking the shields. We're attacking the fundamental quantum structure of their technology. Park watched as the Imperial ships went dark one after another. They're still advancing. Launch the interceptors. Across Earth, hangar doors opened, and thousands of small fighter craft rose into the atmosphere. Unlike the large Imperial warships, these human vessels were tiny, agile, and powered by hybrid engines, combining Imperial technology with Earth's quantum science. In space, Supreme Commander Choi watched in growing horror as Waves 3 and 4 met the same fate as the first two. 300 of her ships were now drifting helplessly. And now, thousands of small craft were emerging from Earth. "What are those?" she demanded. "Fighter craft," replied Officer Jin. "But they're different. Their energy signature contains both Imperial and Earth technology patterns." "Impossible," Choi whispered. The human fighters swarmed around the remaining Imperial ships. They didn't fire conventional weapons, but instead projected focused quantum fields that precisely targeted critical systems. Choi's flagship rocked as systems began failing throughout the vessel. "How are they doing this?" she demanded. "They've studied our technology," Captain Bay realized. "They'd found our weakness and exploited it." On the main view screen, Choi watched as her mighty armada, the pride of the Imperial fleet, was systematically disabled by a world that should have been easy to conquer. 400 ships already drifted powerless. The final 100, including her flagship, were quickly succumbing to the hybrid quantum weapons. "Send a message to Imperial High Command," Choi ordered, her voice steady despite the disaster unfolding around her. "Earth possesses technology beyond our understanding. They have combined their quantum science with our own technology to create weapons we cannot defend against." As the lights on the bridge dimmed and emergency power activated, Choi stared at the blue planet on her view screen. The Empire had existed for 12,000 years, conquering any who stood in its path. Never had they encountered a species like humans, a people who could adapt so quickly, who could take an enemy's strength and turn it against them. For the first time in her long career, Supreme Commander Choi faced not just defeat, but the realization that the Galactic Imperial Federation had met its match. In the vastness of space, a battle unfolded that would change everything. The Imperial fleet, once considered invincible, faced a force they had never encountered before. Humanity united and ready to defend their home. Commander Choi watched in disbelief as Imperial shields dissolved like paper against strange weapons that seemed to defy all known physics. Human ships moved in patterns that made no sense to Imperial battle strategies, yet they struck with precision and deadly effectiveness. Each maneuver was unexpected, each attack a surprise that left Imperial vessels crippled and burning. Billions of humans watched the battle through augmented reality, their eyes locked on screens across the planet. For the first time in centuries, humanity stood as one. Old conflicts, ancient rivalries, and national boundaries disappeared in the face of a common threat. They were no longer divided nations, but a single species fighting for survival. The Imperial ships, massive and traditionally overwhelming, found themselves outmaneuvered by smaller, faster human vessels. Commander Choi's flagship became the lone survivor of what had started as a confident invasion and turned into a catastrophic defeat. The sleek Imperial vessel drifted among the wreckage of its once proud fleet, surrounded by the silent remnants of destroyed ships. Then came a transmission that would echo through the galaxy. A human ship broadcast a clear, direct message meant for the Emperor himself. The words were simple but carried the weight of an entire planet's determination. "This message is for your Emperor. Earth is not for conquest. We have no interest in your empire, but we will defend our home. Tell your leaders, Earth is forbidden ground." The message was a declaration, a warning, and a promise. Humanity had proven they were not just another species to be conquered. They were defenders, united and fierce, willing to fight for their right to exist independently. Commander Choi understood in that moment that everything had changed. The Imperial strategy of expansion and conquest had met its match. Earth was not just another planet to be added to their vast empire. It was a world with spirit, with determination, with a unity that could not be broken. The battle lasted less than a day, but its impact would be felt for generations. Across the galaxy, other civilizations would hear about how a united Earth stood against an seemingly unbeatable imperial force and emerged victorious. The story would become legend, a tale of unexpected resistance and planetary solidarity. In the silence after the battle, human communication networks buzzed with excitement and relief. They had done the impossible. They had defended their home. And they had sent a message that would be heard across the stars. Earth was not to be touched. Commander Choi's flagship remained, the lone witness to this historic moment. The Imperial ship, once a symbol of conquest, now represented something else, a testament to the unexpected strength of a united humanity. As communication signals spread the news, celebrations erupted across Earth. People who moments ago were strangers now embraced, their differences forgotten in the shared experience of survival and victory. The battle had transformed them, showing that when faced with a common threat, humanity could achieve the extraordinary. The message to the Emperor was clear and uncompromising. Earth was more than a target. Earth was home, and home would always be defended. In the vast darkness of space, a new chapter in galactic history had begun, and it started with a simple, powerful declaration from a planet that refused to be conquered. In the 5 years following the decisive battle, the galaxy witnessed a transformation that no one could have predicted. The Galactic Imperial Federation, humbled by its defeat at Earth's hands, established a permanent boundary that would not be crossed. Thousands of galactic maps now mark the Sol system with a warning symbol, a clear message that this territory was off-limits. Earth, once considered a potential conquest, had become something entirely different. The humans began developing remarkable technologies by combining quantum science with recovered Imperial tech. Their exploration ships started venturing beyond the solar system, carefully establishing research outposts and reaching out to new worlds. In the heart of the Imperial capital, Emperor Han gathered his top advisors. The intelligence reports painted a picture that confused and concerned the Imperial leadership. Humans were not behaving like a typical expanding civilization. Instead of building an empire through force, they were creating something unprecedented. "They aren't building an empire," the intelligence director reported, his voice filled with a mix of frustration and grudging respect. "They're creating an alliance of free worlds, sharing technology with species we've traditionally considered primitive." The Emperor studied the holographic map showing Earth's growing influence. Unlike Imperial expansion, which relied on military might and subjugation, humans were achieving their reach through cooperation and mutual benefit. Planets and species were joining them not out of fear, but out of genuine interest and shared potential. For the first time in millennia, the Imperial system faced a fundamental challenge to its understanding of galactic politics and expansion. The traditional methods of conquest and control seemed outdated against this new approach. Earth had changed everything, and it all started with a simple message 5 years earlier. Earth is forbidden ground. The galaxy was shifting, and no one knew exactly where this new path would lead.